The purpose of our work, I thought, as was defined in ongoing conversations with district staff, was to give teachers an opportunity to work collaboratively across the district and the intermediate schools. And by working collaboratively around a subject that everyone's invested in, and through that investment and that collaboration, discover that there were changes that need to be made, and coming to an agreement about what those changes were, and to see if they can be implemented district-wide.
And we all, when we went into this together, we wanted to change the working habits of the 7th and 8th grade learning plaza. And because Beverly and I both worked there, along with a couple other of our teacher partners who are also in this classroom, we wanted to do it together as a team.
Yeah, and for me it was also consistency, having consistent practices.
Third, and the wanting to have an input on this grading thing, because I've been doing this already before this committee even started.
And I think for me it was the same reason. I wanted to be part of changing it because I wasn't happy with the things that I was seeing, and I felt, well, if I'm not happy with it, then I need to be in the middle of changing it, and it's a control.
Discussed at our school. Elena Esquerra, principal, she's talked about this philosophy a lot, about students being able to earn a grade that's commensurate with what they really learn, as opposed to just at that moment in time.
Many times it was a room full of lots of debates and opinions. Yes, but that was necessary. And at the end of the day, I would have to say yes. We would have to own this because we were able to express our own opinions. And struggle through those, like I don't agree with that, and then looking at research, and then having to reflect on our own practices.
So this whole thought process is something I've been going through for the last 7 years on my own, and then to have it validated by the work, and when I've been doing it with some research that I've done on my own, but not with the extensive research that we've been presented here, and then with the conversations with other people and seeing how things have unrolled for others, it just validates more, and it actually moved even farther to the position that we've taken on this committee.
About it, a lot of the discussions we've had over the last few years made me think about why are we grading, what is the purpose of grades, what are we trying to convey to the parents and to the students, and the whole thing has shifted over the last few years. Whereas before I did grading the way I was expected to, the way I'd learned it, the way I was graded in high school, and then I started thinking, well, the grades should probably reflect something else. They probably should reflect what the students are learning. They should reflect how they're doing compared to others and compared to what they're supposed to know.
In the beginning, I kind of had vague ideas about the inequities, but I still gave zeros, and I, gave points for bringing Kleenex sometimes, or citizenship, whatever. And that the shift for me was that the grading is about what the kid learned. What did the student learn? And I think the biggest shift, the zero thing was a big shift for me. That inequity of 0 to 59 versus 60 to 70, 70 to 80.
In the beginning, as a teacher, you would give a test and, you got 10 out of 20, that's it. We were not in that process of finding alternate opportunities for the student to realize success or achieve the goals that we have in mind. So it definitely, my students know that they have more than one opportunity to get a grade, because it's not only the learning, they're looking at the grade, but for me it's more the learning process. And I take a deeper looking at the work. If in the beginning it's either right or wrong, but now I look at it, I look to see which part you have achieved.
And I owned it up greatly because of similar reasons as Mark, except I had a lot farther to go. Our subjects are significantly different in how we do things. We've had a lot of conversations about that. And I really feel that through this committee and the things that I've read and the things that I've done and we've talked about has taught me to decide what's most important, grading the kids or punishing the kids, and they're two separate and complete issues. And now that we've done this for almost 3 years, I've made a lot of major changes in how I do grade, and I believe it's a fairer system of grading than what I used to do.
There was a shift in people's thinking and the way, and they're taking ownership that it was theirs to make. Because I think there were some who wondered, was I, the kind of like the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain trying to make an outcome that was designed by other people. And I wanted to make sure that the outcome was owned and was the product of the people in the room.
Being a social studies teacher, I compare it to the Constitutional Convention. I mean, we all went in with different ideas. We all went in with different biases on how we thought how grading should be. And as the years progressed, or as time progressed, we stripped it down and realized, maybe I do have a little leverage here. Maybe there is something I'm doing wrong. Maybe there is something I got to look to this as the big picture and not just what's best for me.
And with all the work that we've done on developing the PLC process and working together, and the way teaching has changed in the last 10 years. I mean, we were looking at the board policy that was written in 1998, which we're still bound by. Well, that way of teaching isn't where we're going now. This grading policy, which will support in a more meaningful way the shift in teaching and how we teach, what we teach, going to Common Core, going to the NGSS.
To learn. So it has changed how many questions I ask and what way I ask the questions. And it's fitting in so nicely with the Common Core, because Common Core is very much about explaining what you know and having that aspect to it.
And my fear is that although we might be able to sell it, we have some people who are very strong in their grading concepts, and it will take us a while before we can really get it across.
We're trying to, the blocked walls that we had amongst ourselves, and now we got to bring it to the other teachers, and we got to, go through the whole thing again on a bigger basis. And I also have, and I'm hoping the elementary schools, the feeder schools, will understand what we're trying to do. And also, I think the high school districts need to be sort of be on board and understand what we're trying to do, that it's all about academic achievement. And we all need to speak the same language.
This group is probably as close to consensus as any team of teachers in any of the committees they've ever put together here.
Yeah.
And I mean, in any of the other groups I've ever worked with, this whole group, there's 50 of us? That are all in such a narrow, we all agree on this. We may look at little different ways of tweaking it, but this is the most together. We are on the same page. This is what's going to work. This is what we want to happen of any group I've ever worked with.
Would like to share this, that the Palmville story is a story worth telling because it's a story of what some people think is impossible to achieve, which is a collaborative culture amongst teachers across the district to develop a common voice about something as controversial as grading. Because if you can create a consensus amongst adults about something as controversial as grading, I think the possibilities are endless for possible change in the district and the other districts as well.